The secret upstairs, I'll never forget the first time I realized something was off. It was the laughter. Not just any laughter, but hers and his together. The sound came from upstairs, behind the closed door of my best friend's house, where I'd spent most of my teenage years. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe his mom was just talking to him. She was always nice, always laughing. The kind of woman who made you feel like part of the family. But that night, something about the tone of it, breathless, nervous, intimate, sent a chill crawling down my neck. I didn't know it then, but that sound was the beginning of the end of our friendship. I 19 meters have been friends with Ethan 19 meters since middle school. We grew up in the same neighborhood, shared everything. Video games, heartbreaks, late-night talks about our futures. He was like a brother to me. Ethan's mom, Lisa 39F, was different from other moms. Young-looking, confident, the type who wore perfume that lingered in the hallway long after she passed. She worked from home, always smiled when we came over, and treated us like adults instead of kids. Over time, I noticed one of our mutual friends, Tyler 20 meters, started hanging around more. Not just when Ethan was there, but even when he wasn't. At first, it seemed innocent. Tyler claimed he was helping Lisa with some home projects, fixing her Wi-Fi, setting up her new laptop, keeping her company when she felt lonely. Ethan didn't think much of it, but I did, because I'd seen the way Lisa looked at him one night when we were all sitting in the kitchen, her leaning against the counter, laughing a little too hard at Tyler's jokes. Her hand brushed his shoulder, and instead of pulling away, he leaned closer. I remember thinking, no way, she wouldn't. But deep down, I already knew. A few weeks later, things escalated. Ethan started complaining that Tyler was ghosting him, not answering texts, skipping plans. And Lisa, coincidentally, became too busy for visitors. It didn't take long before rumors started spreading. Someone from a local coffee shop said they'd seen Tyler and Lisa together, holding hands, laughing, looking like a couple. I didn't believe it. I couldn't, until the night I found proof. We were supposed to have a movie night at Ethan's place. He went upstairs to grab something from his mom's room, her laptop, I think, and I followed behind him a few minutes later, only to hear it again. That laughter. But this time, it was mixed with whispers, then silence. Ethan froze at the door. He didn't knock. He didn't move. He just listened. Then, quietly, he opened it, and there they were. Lisa and Tyler, not talking, not laughing, in bed. The look on Ethan's face. You'll never forget it. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just stood there, pale and shaking, staring at them like the world had just cracked in half beneath his feet. Tyler tried to speak, said something about it not meaning what it looked like. Lisa tried to cover herself, her voice trembling, begging Ethan to listen. But Ethan just turned and walked out. He didn't come to school for 2 weeks after that. When he finally did, he wouldn't talk to anyone. Not me, not Tyler, not even his girlfriend. He just moved through the halls like a ghost. Tyler dropped out of college a few months later. Lisa moved to another city for work. Ethan cut ties with both of them. I wish I could say that time healed it, but it didn't. Every time I see Tyler's name online or hear about Lisa through old neighbors, it feels like a scar reopening. Because the truth is, when something like that happens, when trust breaks that way, it never really goes away. Sometimes I think about that night, the laughter, the whispers, the door creaking open, and I wonder if deep down Lisa ever regretted it, or if Tyler still does, because I know Ethan never stopped hurting, and neither did I. Part E, Tyler's version. What started as comfort, I don't remember the exact moment. Things crossed the line, but I remember how easy it was. How natural it felt to slip from something innocent into something unspeakable. It started about 6 months before everything fell apart. Back when Ethan was barely home, always busy with his girlfriend, soccer, or his part-time job, and I was hanging out at his place more than he was. I told myself I went there because Lisa always made people feel welcome, because her house smelled like vanilla candles and fresh coffee, not like the cheap air fresheners my mom used to cover up cigarette smoke. But if I'm honest, I went because she saw me. Lisa would ask about school, my plans, my music, my ex. She remembered little things, the name of my dog, the fact that I liked like sugar in my coffee but not cream. It sounds small, but when you've spent your life feeling invisible, that kind of attention can feel like oxygen. At first, it was harmless, or that's what I told myself. The first boundary cracked one night when Ethan was late coming home from work. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone, and Lisa came downstairs in sweatpants and a hoodie. She sat next to me and sighed. Not the dramatic kind, but the tired, human kind that said, "I'm carrying too much." We started talking. About life, about Ethan, about how she sometimes felt like her son didn't need her anymore. At some point, she started crying. It wasn't loud or forced, it was quiet, embarrassed, like she hated herself for doing it. I put my hand on her shoulder to comfort her. She didn't pull away. I should've. God, I should've. But she looked at me through those tear-streaked lashes and whispered, "You're so kind, Tyler. So different." It was the first time anyone had said that to me and meant it. After that, everything got blurry. Not in a single dramatic moment, but in small, repeated ones. A hug that lasted too long. A text late at night that started as "thanks for listening" and turned into "I can't stop thinking about our talk." A shared secret that made us both feel like we were breaking rules but also escaping something. She told me she hadn't been touched since her divorce, that her ex had left her feeling unwanted, broken, invisible. And I told her I'd never been with anyone who actually cared about me. It's pathetic when I say it out loud, but at the time, it felt like we were two lonely people who just happened to find each other. The first time it happened, I swore it would never happen again. We both did. But addiction doesn't announce itself with a warning. It comes disguised as comfort, as understanding, as something you convince yourself isn't wrong, just complicated. I started sneaking around more, going over when Ethan was out. Every time I walked through that front door, my stomach twisted in guilt, but I still went, because the way Lisa looked at me made the guilt fade for a few hours. Until that night, Ethan wasn't supposed to be home early. Lisa told me he was working late. We were upstairs, her room dimly lit by a bedside lamp. Everything quiet except for the sound of our breathing. Then the door opened, and I saw Ethan standing there, his face blank, his hands trembling. I don't remember what I said. Probably nothing. There's nothing you can say when your best friend finds you in bed with his mother. He just stared at us, and for a moment I thought maybe he'd scream, throw something, hit me. But he didn't. He just laughed, quietly. That silence was worse than any scream could have been. The fallout was fast and brutal. Ethan blocked me on everything. People at school found out within days. Rumors spread like wildfire. Tyler slept with his best friend's mom. It wasn't even exaggerated. It was true. My parents found out, too. My dad called me disgusting. My mom cried for days. Lisa tried to defend me, said it was her fault, that she was the adult, that I was just a kid who got caught up in something bigger than him. But the damage was done. Ethan's girlfriend dumped him out of pity. He stopped going to school. And Lisa, she sold the house within 3 months and left town. I never saw her again. It's been 2 years now. I still dream about that night. Not the sex, not even her. Just Ethan's face when he opened that door. The look of betrayal, shock, hurt. I've tried to move on. Got therapy. Went back to school. But every time I make a new friend, there's a voice in the back of my head whispering, "You don't deserve this." Because maybe I don't. Lisa reached out to me once, about a year later. She sent a short message. Greater than, "I hope you're doing okay. I think about you sometimes. I hope one day you can forgive yourself." I never replied. I didn't need forgiveness from her. I needed it from Ethan, and I know I'll never get it. Sometimes I drive past our old neighborhood. The house is gone now. Someone new lives there. Someone who has no idea what happened in those walls. But every time I see it, I remember that night, the laughter, the door opening, the silence that followed, and I realize something I didn't understand back then. What we had wasn't love. It was loneliness dressed up as connection, and I let it destroy the only real friendship I ever had. Part E, Ethan's version. The ghost I called my friend. There are some memories that don't fade. They just change temperature. They stop burning and start freezing you instead. That's what that night became for me. Not a fire, not rage. Just this cold, quiet numbness that settled inside me and refused to leave. It's been 5 years. 5 years since I opened that bedroom door and found my best friend in bed with my mother. 5 years since I stopped believing in the idea that people were basically good. I thought time would make it easier. It didn't. If anything, the silence made it worse. My mom left town not long after it happened. She didn't even say goodbye properly. just packed up and moved somewhere for a fresh start. I got a text the night before she left. Greater than I love you, Ethan. I know I failed you. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Every time I thought of her, I saw that image. Tyler sitting up in bed, startled, shirtless. The air thick with panic and shame. I saw her looking at me like a stranger had walked in on something private, and I thought, this can't be real. But it was. And after that night, something inside me broke in a way that never healed right. I didn't talk to anyone for weeks after it happened. Stopped going to soccer. Skipped classes. I think I scared my friends. They didn't know what to say. How do you comfort someone who just found out his best friend and his mom were sleeping together? My dad, who had been divorced from her for years, showed up and tried to be supportive. But his version of support was basically telling me, well, she always had boundary issues. That didn't help. It just made me feel small, like I was supposed to laugh about it, make it some kind of sick joke. But it wasn't funny. It was humiliating. Everyone knew. Word got out within a week. By the time I went back to school, whispers followed me down every hallway. I stopped being Ethan, the guy who plays midfield. I became Ethan, the guy whose mom slept with his best friend. It was like a scar I couldn't cover. No matter how many times I told myself it didn't matter. I didn't see Tyler again after that night. Not once. Not until the reunion. It was 5 years later. College done, job lined up. Everything neatly put back together on the surface. I went to the reunion mostly because my girlfriend, Lauren, convinced me. Closure, she said. As if that's a real thing. As if pain just waits patiently until you're ready to close the door on it. We were in the school gym. Music, laughter, all that fake nostalgia you're supposed to feel when you see people you used to know. And then I saw him. Tyler. He looked older, quieter. There was this heaviness about him, like life had been hitting him on repeat. He was standing by the back wall, drink in hand, staring at the floor like he didn't belong there. Our eyes met for half a second, and it was like time folded in on itself. 5 years gone, and suddenly I was 18 again, standing in that doorway, heart splitting open. I didn't want to talk to him, but he came over anyway. Hey, he said softly. His voice had that same gentle tone that used to make him sound trustworthy. It hurt to hear it again. Hey, I managed. My throat felt dry. He hesitated, then said, I didn't think you'd come. I didn't think you'd come, I said. We stood there for a while, the silence between us like a live wire. People moved around us, laughing, drinking, oblivious. Finally, he said, Ethan, I know I can't fix it. I know I don't deserve to even talk to you, but I've wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. For everything. I looked at him, and for the first time, I realized he wasn't just the villain in my story. He was broken too. But part of me didn't want to care, because caring would mean acknowledging that I missed him. You know what hurt the most? I said quietly. He looked up, waiting. It wasn't that you slept with her. It was that you never told me. That you looked me in the eye every day in line. He nodded. I know. I thought I could stop it. I thought if I ended it before you found out, maybe it wouldn't matter. Jesus, Tyler. I laughed. Bitter, hollow. You were sleeping with my mom. It always mattered. He didn't argue. He just stared at the floor, and for a long moment, neither of us said anything. Then he whispered, I think about it every day. What I did to you. What it did to her. I hate myself for it. I wanted to say I hated him too, but I didn't, because I realized I didn't. I hated the situation, the betrayal, the way it changed me. But standing there, I couldn't bring myself to hate him. We ended up walking outside together. Just like old times, except the air between us was filled with all the things we never said. He told me he'd gone to therapy, that he tried to move on but couldn't, that every friendship since then felt fake because he never trusted himself not to ruin it. I listened. I didn't interrupt. And when he finished, he said quietly, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know I never stopped being sorry. I looked at him for a long time. The kid who used to spend every weekend at my house. The guy I trusted more than anyone. The friend who shattered everything. And I said, I'm not ready to forgive you, but I think I'm ready to stop hating you. He nodded, eyes glassy, and whispered, that's more than I deserve. We stood there under the street light, both of us silent. The air thick with 5 years of pain and something that felt dangerously close to peace. Then he said, take care of yourself, Ethan, and walked away. One didn't call after him, didn't ask for his number, didn't say goodbye, because for the first time since that night, I didn't need to. It's been months since the reunion. Sometimes I still think about him, about her, about everything that could have been different if any of us had stopped before it was too late. But now, when I think of Tyler, I don't see the betrayal anymore. I see the stupid kids who made a mess of love and loneliness. I see forgiveness that came too late, but came anyway. And maybe that's enough. Epilogue. The letter. It was late, past midnight, when I found the envelope. No return address, just my name written in a shaky, familiar hand. I almost threw it away, but something in me hesitated. Inside was a single sheet of paper. My mom's handwriting, smaller now, uneven, like she'd written it in a hurry or with trembling hands. Ethan, I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me either. But I need you to know that what happened with Tyler wasn't what it looked like. I was lonely. Yes, but more than that, I was lost. He reminded me of the version of myself I'd buried a long time ago. He didn't chase me. I let it happen, and then I watched it destroy both of you. I think that's the part I'll never forgive myself for. Not the act, but the silence after it. The way I ran. I've been in therapy. I've learned how to live with what I did. But there's still one thing I need you to understand before I go. You were always the love of my life. Not him, not anyone else, you. My son. Don't let my shame define your kindness. You're more like your father than you realize. Be happy even if it means never speaking my name again. Mom, I sat there for a long time, the paper trembling between my fingers. Outside, the city was quiet. I could hear the hum of traffic in the distance, steady, constant, alive. It didn't fix anything. It didn't erase the years of pain or the memories that still woke me at night. But for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Because maybe forgiveness isn't about saying it's okay. Maybe it's about finally understanding that it wasn't, and learning to live anyway. A week later, I stood at her grave. The air smelled like rain. I placed the letter on the ground and whispered, "I got it, Mom." And for the first time since I was 18, I walked away, without looking back. Because some ghosts don't need to be exorcised. They just need to be heard.